Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know.
Hola, bon dia, alegria. Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show. The wrong intro sequence. Not that Roxy wasn't brilliant yesterday. She absolutely was. And we got some lovely feedback about the interview with Roxy yesterday, Venezuelan in Portugal. But that was meant to be today's topic in other news roundup. So let me do that again. Hola, bon dia, alegria. Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show, the live stream. This is the live stream, the podcast, over on Spreaker and your usual podcast platforms. And news of a new podcast, actually, I want to tell you about while we're chatting and hanging out together this morning on the Good Morning Portugal show. And, of course, the Portugal Club, where we will go for the Portuguese citizenship test question. And a little bit of chat about Portuguese names as well. I'm guessing you may know there's an approved list of Portuguese names when you go to name a child in Portugal. There is an approved list that you can choose from. And there are names that are frowned upon as well. Because I've just seen some new memes sharing with us the most popular names here in Portugal for boys and girls. Lots today, actually, on the show. Good morning to you already, Matty and Sarah. How are you? We've got the Portuguese citizenship test question 91, of course, welcoming new members to the Portugal Club. Let me do that now. Athena, good morning to you. You describe yourself as a cancer warrior from San Diego. Miracles do happen in your bio. Living the second half of my life in Portugal with my husband and dog. I might return to that because today, published in the Portugal Resident, two pieces published this week, one over at the Expats Portugal blog, my new Carl's column. Behold, Carl's column. And in the Portugal Resident today, it's called Thrills. No, it's called Pills, Wills and Thrills. It's about aging generally and, more specifically, tactics for aging in Portugal. And I see that Athena describes her life here as the second half. Is it the second half? I mean, that's what, when I was talking to Jeremy yesterday, news about Jeremy's new healing Qigong class, which I'll be starting with him on Tuesday. Do come and join us as well. I hung out with Jeremy quite a long time yesterday at the agency in San Martino de Porto, and he was talking about the second half, not the second part, the final act, not the third part, but the second half at around 60, so aiming to live to 120. So welcome, Athena, second half of your life in Portugal with my husband and dog, you say. So welcome to the Portugal Club. Good to see you. I would like to ask you what we should talk about with Philomena tomorrow. It's a Philomena Friday tomorrow. Which button is that then? Philomena Friday. Still a bit quiet, but yes, thank you, Owen. Philomena Friday tomorrow. Feel Good Friday, Philomena Friday. What do you need help with the Portuguese language and culture? Let me know in the comments, and we'll make sure we get that memo to Philomena so she can help us in her wonderful way tomorrow as we conclude the first real week of 2026. How's it been for you? It's been an interesting start, hasn't it, to the year, I think, in world terms. And that's why today's show is called In Other News. It's the In Other News Roundup. And there's more to life than the end of the world, which is what the mainstream news narrative seems to be about. They're not going to be happy, are they, until they're reporting on the final piece of news. And that's it, folks. And what they don't realize is that's the end of their job. They're ramping it up and ramping it up and ramping it up. And I'm aware that I'm drawn in, Mrs. M saying, yeah, you're always listening to what they're saying on the news about this, that, and the other. And of course, I'm the perimeter keeper here of this family. I need to watch out what's going on the boundary, on the perimeter. But it's easy to get seduced by what it passes for what's called news. None of our business a lot of the time, but we make it our business, don't we? And I think it's a psyop. All of it. All of life is a psyop, isn't it, in a way? It's an intelligence test. And we have to check in from time to time to see how we're doing with that intelligence test. Are we remembering that life is good? Like this wonderful photograph behind me that I took, I think 8 years ago, possibly. Yeah, 8 years ago. Certainly 7 years ago, at least 7 years ago. And I think it was the first time I clapped eyes upon Foz de Relho. And I think there was a 2-word description with the photo. It's got a filter on it, I think. But I mean, Foz de Relho with the paragliders, parasurfers, or whatever they call these guys who were there that day. I think it was like OMG. Oh, that's 3. Well, that's 3 letters anyway. But it was like, my God, this is so beautiful. And that we are surrounded by in the world. If we look, we are surrounded by utter beauty and proof that life is good and that life goes on in its wonderful way, largely. Whilst the icing on the cake from a human mind point of view is all the gloom and doom, isn't it? It's interesting. So we need to be very mindful of that, I would say, and I'll do my best to make sure I don't drift into sharing too many sensational or bad news stories, as it were, and also not to go to the other extreme. Both Jeremy and I have had backgrounds in positive news, trying to right the wrong, and I think there's a middle way, isn't there? There's a middle way of a positive indifference and a surrender, a letting go to what is in a quietly joyful way. And we can look at things and we can find the good in them. I think that's possibly the thing to do, and that has to be done from a personal point of view as well. There's no sort of mass prescriptions either, are there? That's what we've tried to do with politics, is produce mass prescriptions. This is the way that everything's going to work out. Lo and behold, a few years later, centuries later, it's not quite worked out as we thought this wholesale prescription might. So it is perhaps the time. We are living in the I generation, what could be described as quite selfish and self-centered. But I think when it comes to fulfillment and personal happiness, the clue is impersonal. And imagine a world full of personally happy, fulfilled people. That would add up to quite a good whole, would it not? Talking also of wool here in Portugal, closing cinemas. How do you reframe the problem of closing cinemas? We've lost our cinema in Caldas I thought it was being refurbed. We went there last week, I think, to spend our Christmas money, the kids anyway. And it looked like the cinema in the La Vie Centre was closed for a refurb. No, it has been shut down, apparently, I discovered. What can we do about that, I wonder? I've got a really good solution, I think, to corporate cinema. It's not the most edifying experience anymore, is it? Sitting on your own in one of 6 rooms where the film is being played over and over again. They've managed to have taken the magic out of the movies, really, haven't they? With the corporate approach, everything, this is where I guess this is what we're seeing at the moment. Everything's come down to the cost of everything, and that's the great commercial cynicism, isn't it? If we reduce everything to what it costs and optimize everything, we also, pardon my French, and it's not the first time this word is going to be used today. There are some potty mouth grandmas on this show this morning as well that I want to share with you. But the enshittification, as it were, of things, because of this obsession with how optimized they are and what they cost and return on investment, and basically the whole rationalization of everything we do as human beings has produced a sort of cinemas that we have here, generally speaking, in shopping centers. And it's not like the old days, is it? When they were full of smoke and naughty children. I'm not suggesting we go back to that, but there may be some sort of happy, if not a happy medium, then a sort of transcendent possibility. I do want to talk about that this morning as well, between now and 9 o'clock. Yeah, after 9, I'm going to be recording. It's going to be off air, but hopefully we'll do some lives. Back together again with my old mate, John Briffer. We haven't recorded together doing a health and well-being podcast within that sort of genre, a ballpark. We haven't talked to each other in that way, in that manner, for about 15 years. So we've got some catching up to do, and it's going to be the life support podcast. What did he say? Actionable advice on work, life, and everything in between. That's what he specializes in, and I'll be there as the layman with the same sort of interest, but coming from a different angle, talking to John, and that will be published quite soon, I hope. Tonight, the Expats Portugal webinar, catching up with Gilda and team at EI. So do make sure you join us for that if you're an Expats Portugal member. It'll be nice, actually, to be back in business with Expats Portugal tonight for that webinar. And I think, is it the second or third Thursday? It's the second Thursday. So I think it's actually a town hall this evening as well. Well, as you know, Thursday evenings, it's busy with Expats Portugal, helping people move to Portugal and hanging out with the Expats Portugal community this evening as well. Yeah, the podcast you can also find over on their webinar replay page. All the webinars that I host with them, they're there for replay. Tonight's, let me just tell you a little bit more about what you might expect this evening. Moving to Portugal 2026. That's what we're doing. We're hitting the ground running tonight. We'll talk about my blog, what you wouldn't know, what you couldn't know moving to Portugal, that'll be under discussion next Thursday evening. It is a town hall questionnaire, well, not a questionnaire, town hall Q&A tonight with the professionals at 9. But before that, at 7:30, moving to Portugal in 2026. If you haven't already done so, visa routes, timelines, and crucial updates this evening with EI. And obviously, that's going to be free if you're a premium member, but you can join that as a community member for €15. So head over to, I'll put the link to that in case that's of interest to you. If you're that sort of person, you're probably not watching live. You'll be watching this later on. And you may well be saying to yourself, yes, definitely need that. I need help moving to Portugal. That's the dream team over there at Expats Portugal who can help you do that. And the link's gone into the chat now. Good morning to you, Henry, as well. Come back to you. And Mel as well. And your comments this morning, Matty. And Ana Lucia, good morning to you as well from a chilly UK. We haven't had a Capricorn Chronicle. Maybe the train has been cancelled for Chris again, but we'll come back to him as well. What else? Just going through what we're going to talk about this morning. Sangoiches and those potty-mouthed grandmas will be playing an advert, basically, from what they call Sushi Mango, the generic Southern European grandmas. I think they've got a new product coming out, but it's hilarious. It's a bit rude, so forgive me if you're listening to this out loud at work. You might get fired. Lucky many of us here aren't in that condition of being at work, pretending to be busy whilst listening to something else on the headphones or whatever else, or however else we used to hide and bunk off at work. Happy memories. Yes, for me, working for the British, I had some great ruses, I'll be honest with you. When I worked at the Natural History Museum, it was a different, you weren't expected to work flat out all the time in those days anyway. You worked when you needed to work, and you kind of took it easy a lot of the rest of the time. We didn't live to work, we worked to live. That's the right way around, isn't it? In fact, that was my soliloquy speech as I walked out of my first job. I think that's what I told the boss as I stormed out, and never to be seen again. Of my yeah, and that was the shape of things to come thereafter. Children's names in Portugal. Talking about those wine of the week, we're going back to the Dow, which has completely changed in my estimation, and perhaps Gary's too. And I need to tell me if this is too annoying. I'm putting the heater on in the studio. It's damp and chilly this morning. If it sounds like there's a jumbo jet is taxiing in the room here with me and about to take off, do let me know and I'll turn it off. But I'll get closer to the mic. But it is a bit chilly and cool this morning on the Silver Coast. However, going against my weather forecast yesterday, well, not mine, I just shared what weather I'd been given on our weather page. There was no sign of sun, was there? Maybe just a little bit in Faro yesterday and a sprinkling smattering in Madeira. Beautiful afternoon yesterday here in São Martinho de Porto. And Matty, I suspect you got the sun you were hoping for as well in central Portugal. So yeah, I think we went against the trend, a few of us yesterday, and had some glorious sunshine yesterday. Oh, isn't that lovely? And then at about 5 o'clock, the sun disappeared, and it was like an ice block dropping again on the town. It's incredible. We are so dependent on that beautiful ball of fire in the sky in so many ways, aren't we? Wine of the week then, alternatives to airport queues. Should we talk about that? The airport queues, if we go over to George Branco's reporting on Substack, and you'll have seen some of the news about how they're going to ease the queues at Lisbon Airport. And people have understandably got very frustrated and angry. One person, 11-hour flight, and then 5 hours waiting in the passport line at Lisbon. Their language was colourful as a result, as they took to, I think, Instagram to speak of their plight there. But I mean, that's outrageous. There's no need for that, is there? A 5-hour passport line after you've been on an airplane for I was going to say 5 years. Feels like it. 11 hours. What are the alternatives? We've got Vigo Airport, we've got train, and we've got coaches. I think we need to talk seriously about forms of transport out of the country, maybe to our native lands, that don't rely on airplanes. You can get the QE2, can you not, back to the US? You need a bit more time, obviously. You have to change your life a bit. But slow travel, what are the alternatives to airplanes in and out of Portugal when it's becoming so miserable to use Lisbon Airport? And they are on it, to be fair. They are trying to do something to sort that out. But We've heard those sorts of promises before, have we not? The GNR are back, and I think it might be back to some of the OGs who used to be working on the border. So perhaps they'll know what to do, and they'll just reinstate better working practices. But we shall see. We shall see what happens with that. And in the meantime, let's look at alternatives for traveling in and out. You UK folks, you can drive home, can't you? And catch the ferry, which is nice. You can also get the coach and the train. I think we should look at those alternatives. Has anybody done that already? Children's names, wine of the week, alternatives to airport queues. Portuguese wool, that's come up as well. I think that's thanks to George Branco, which sent me off on a bit of a goose chase, a good one, a good goose chase this morning as well, which led me to sunglasses, handmade sunglasses here in Portugal. If you want to buy Portuguese, that's a really good way of doing so and get some really cool sunglasses. It went from wool to sunglasses. That's what happens when you search on the internet, isn't it? You wilf. What was I looking for? Wilfing on the internet. We got some feedback about Roxy's interview yesterday, Venezuelan in Portugal. Yeah, and I want to tell you about the Qigong class that I'll be doing on Tuesday of next week. It's online, so if anybody else wants to have a little taster of Qigong with Jeremy, let's talk about that as well. I think I'll need to go to Quantum Qigong, which is his website, to find out more about that. Quantum Qigong. We'll be starting that next Tuesday. Right, let's have a look at a few of your comments then. Flixbus. Okay, thank you very much, Mel, for your suggestions already to air travel. I was first in this morning. That's unusual. And that was 10 to 8 as well. Morning to you, Sarah. I'm imagining everything's getting very exciting in the Yeoman household with the wedding. I think it's tomorrow, isn't it? Putting the sex in sexta-feira tomorrow, well and truly. Bom dia, alegria a todos. E feliz quinta-feira, domingo quinta. Happy Thor Day. Thank you very much, Matty. Did you get your sunshine that you were anticipating yesterday? Good morning from Ana Lucia. From a UK, coming over in February for a small break. I am approaching my second half of life as well, planning to live to 130. Right, okay. But you're not 65 yet, are you, Matty? You don't look a day over 62. So second half, living to 130. Good, okay. How are you preparing for that? I mean, this is loving life, 50-plus life in Portugal. Being 50 in a world of 130-year-olds would make you a proper youngster, really, wouldn't it? And if you are here and you're under 50, please, we need to see a parent's note to prove that you can be here unattended by a grown-up. Some might argue it's hard to find grown-ups in this community, even if they are over 50. But I'll let you respond to that in the comments. Bon dia from Mike as well, and Mel. So happy not to have a TV. The real world and daily interactions are much more positive. Yeah, how do you feel, Mel, about striking that balance of knowing, having a sense of what's going on in the world? Do we need to know at all? Probably not, but we're kind of hardwired to, aren't we, in a way, to see what's going on the perimeter. And that might be your garden fence, mightn't it? It might not be a sense of a national border or some sort of sense of Europeanness. All of these things are a hypnosis, aren't they? They're all psyops in their way. And I suppose the intelligent thing to do is to figure out what that's doing to you, what effect it's having on you and your quality of life, all the ideas you have. And as Gary and I think I don't know what context we were having a conversation about this in, Gary, but all the ideas you have in your life are probably inherited, aren't they? If you look at them, if you start to go through them, they're all things inherited from parents and school, and they might not be true. Newsflash, they might not be true. They might just be relics, and they might apply. They may have been true. They may never have been true. They might be true. But if we operate on the fact that we just work with everything we were given without question, some might say we find ourselves in the pickle we're in at the moment. So happy to not have a TV then. That's Mel. We still have to deal with the problems and issues in our local community. Our nervous systems are not designed to see horrors. That's going to come up on the new podcast with John Briffer for sure. He's writing a book, actually, and one of the areas of his investigation, and I'm sure this will come up on the podcast, is how we are really beginning to understand how dysregulated we are, generally speaking. It's the times we've been living in, right? And we carry all of this trauma, I suppose you would say. And it's a loaded word in itself, isn't it? So I haven't got any trauma. But if you as a child, and we form our personalities as children, if a lot of the workarounds and solutions we came up with as kids were to help us survive as a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old, it's plausible, is it not, that you are a 40, 50, 60-year-old whose life is still being run by a 2, 3, 4, or 5-year-old if you haven't modified or got to the bottom of that. Interesting, huh? So we still have to deal with our problems and issues in our local community. And there's enough to be getting on with. Sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof, right? As my old dad used to say. Our nervous system, in fact, he just used to say sufficient unto the day, and that was it. He'd kind of tail off at that point. But I knew what he meant. Or did I? Our nervous systems are not designed to see horrors from every corner of the world. Absolutely. Despite the list of approved names, one of our Portuguese pals is called Elvis. His son is called Liam. Yes, officially, well done. I think it's getting relaxed, isn't it? It's a vestige of former times, of previous times. Oh, I was talking to a trainee psychologist yesterday. If there's time, maybe we'll chat about this as well this morning. I said to her, why are so many, from some of the stats I've seen, why are so many Portuguese people on antidepressants and sedatives and pharmaceutical interventions for their mental health? She had a very good theory that was related to the end of the dictatorship. I might come back to that. And the reason I mention that is, the vestige, I think, of official names comes from that time. And it still carries on to this day, kind of. Clearly, if you want to be naming you, if you want to name, not if you want to be called Elvis, you're probably too young to decide that for yourself when you're only a few weeks old. But if you want to call your child Elvis, it looks like you might be able to do so. And not Elvish, but Elvis. Elvish would be understandable, would it not? I'm sure there are people called Elvish, the town, the city in Portugal, but Elvis, it's possible. Bom dia, Carlos. And if you could name your child, if you were to have another, or names for your grandchildren, what might they be? I'll tell you the most popular names for children in Portugal in a moment. I think they should bring back the intermission. See, now we're talking. This is a response to the news. More cinemas closing in Portugal. The Cineplus cinema chain has closed the cinemas it operated in shopping centres in Guarda and Caldas de Rainha in the Leiria district, citing the implementation of a special revitalisation plan. It doesn't sound like the revitalisation plan. I mean, I don't want to sound like the boy at the Emperor's New Clothes parade, but honestly, your special revitalisation plan, the PER, doesn't seem to be working if you're shutting cinemas. Maybe there's a rationale I'm not aware of for that. A source close to the owners of the premises told Lusa the decision affects a total of 8 cinemas in the complexes that Cineplus operated in the... Oh, so the 8 cinemas as in 8 screens. Yeah, we've lost 8 screens in Caldas de Rainha and Guarda, leaving both cities without regular cinema screenings. Given that so many of those are empty, it is time for a revisit, is it not? And this is what Gary's comment is here. I think little indie cinemas are fantastic. And there's no reason why groups of retired expats, foreigners, with a love of movies shouldn't start their own little cinema club. I imagine there might be a few bits of red tape to deal with, given that we're in Portugal. But it might be worthwhile, mightn't it, to have a little indie cinema, a community room near you. Projectors are cheap now, aren't they? Find out how to license a movie. Get some old indie movies. Aren't some of the movies out of copyright now anyway? Does it work like that with film as well? Or take a risk? Not that I suggested that. But how about that? A local indie cinema club. Some of my favourite cinema experiences have been in small, independently owned cinemas. Or the old big ones, right? Back in the day when you could throw your Maltesers from the top deck down onto the people in the stalls through plumes of smoke that Gary's referring to here. That, from one extreme to another, that was good fun, wasn't it? Going to the cinema with millions of other people or thousands of other children on a Saturday morning. Or a more of an upmarket boutique experience. I remember going in the United States, being blown away in California, going to see a movie. No, it was Florida. Going to a Floridian cinema and being able to order a drink and sit on a sofa and a hot dog, I think, from waiting staff who were circulating discreetly throughout the movie. Let's have some of those. I mean, they probably exist, don't they, in Porto and Lisbon? But why don't some of you expats, retired expats, start a little cinema club as well to replace this? The apparent end of a couple of cinemas already. Maybe it's part of a trend in Caldas de Rainha and Guarda. I think they should bring back the intermission where the lady with the tray of orange drinks and other orange drinks, kia ora, and other goodies would suddenly appear a few minutes before in the gloomy darkness of cigarette smoke. Yeah, just before that, she was probably outside herself. Maybe, they were multitasking, weren't they, in the cinema? Like was it Derek Geiler on British TV? There was a children's TV show based on a cinema where one guy did all the jobs. The commissionaire greeted you, then he went into the ticket booth, then he was selling the ice creams, then he was the projectionist as well, and then he quickly put on his commissionnaire's outfit to say goodbye and goodnight to you as you left the cinema. Bring it back. And that person is probably having a cigarette outside before hastily appearing with the ice creams. More cigarettes! And your Kia Ora, your cold Kia Oras that you spilt on your lap in the darkness. Wonderful. Bon dia, Gary Mills, pretending to be busy in Montegordo, laptop open on my duvet, listening to us in the background whilst you've got a spreadsheet open. Very good, very wise. Morning, Gary. I hope you're having a nice time in Morning Gordo. The Natural History Museum is both, the Waterhouse, right, is both a beautiful and controversial building. The depiction of ape to man on the outside was thought sacrilegious. By some, it still is, Peter. I loved Flixbus. You see that theory of evolution. Are we still running with that? Have we not got any other ideas? Or are we just saying, no, that's it? Darwin decided that whenever he did. A few other academics and scientists thought, actually, a lot of them didn't they? But some did, and here we are, basically unchanged. Is that right? Am I right with that, Pete? Or am I being a complete ignoramus again here on the Good Morning Portugal show? Please send all your correspondence marked for the attention of Peter at the Portugal Club. Actually, are you over at the Portugal Club, Pete? I'm going to put the QR code on the screen so that you might do that and bring your erudity. Is that the noun of erudite? Possibly. Erudition? I'm not sure. But you will, I know that, Pete. There you go. There's your QR code to join us. I love Flixbus. Alsa, Ready Expressos, I don't know Alsa, use these and others all over airports, less stressful than planes. Absolutely. Quick and often dirty, the aeroplane, and inexpensive. But my goodness, it's becoming just like the cinema, I suppose. It's very similar in the way that the romance and beauty of it and what we used to look forward to has been reduced. All about the money again, isn't it? All about the money. Sarah, one of my friends in Spain, was called Jesus of Kevin Costner. But by far my favorite is a colleague of my ex's in Hong Kong called Miss Fanny Pong. Really, Peter? Yes, I had the sunshine. I needed to charge up. Oh, that's what it was about. Okay. You needed to charge up yesterday. Probably not so much since it's foggy today. And I said, approaching my second half. Okay, I am 55. Fair. All right, calm down. Calma, tranquilo. I drove back and forth from Wales to Algarve 4 times last year. I have a yoga mat in the back of the car for naps on the way. Wow, 5-star luxury. Clamping, isn't it? Is that glamping in a car, possibly? The luxury of having a kip in the back of the car for naps on the way. Very good. So sounds like you put your head down, put your foot down, put your head down, put your foot down, and there you are, suddenly in the Algarve, driving from Wales. What ferry are you using for that, Gary? Let's share that intel. Slow travel. I would like. I think the coach journey would be pretty arduous, would it not, from Lisbon to London? Although such a thing exists, and I think it's only about €2 to do that, is by far the cheapest way to travel. And sometimes you're very aware of that when you're dying for a pee, and it's another 7 hours to go to the next service station at 2 o'clock in the morning, and you're thinking of what other options might I employ here. Train a little bit more civilized, I think. Would that be the sweet spot? You know, a decent train and as whizzing through all the European capitals on the way to wherever you're going. Sounds good to me. And then, but you've got to factor in maybe 1 or 2 stops, and that starts to add to the cost. But you could couch surf. You can make new friends along the way, reacquaint yourself with other friends, make new friends. I think we've got to look at this. Bon dia, alegria, gumpers. T-Duck is here as well. See you soon, mate. The thing with TV is there is much more good news than bad, but that is rarely shown. Well, also, it's where we put our attention, isn't it? I think we need to take some sort of responsibility in this. There's maybe a lot of bad news because that's what we're giving our attention to. And others are doing that, and they're suggesting we might. So we have to sort of take our part in that, don't we? But I take your point, Mel, for sure. So we get a warped fear of the world and people. Yeah, absolutely. Agree with Mel, says Kate. Morning, Kate. We don't watch television either. I think for us, the benefits of avoiding the negativity outweighs keeping up with events. Yeah, fair enough. Bob's here. Bon dia todos, focused on living, loving and laughing here in Pontalima today. Today is the day I have. Quote of the day so far. Today is the day I have. Make the most of it. Hardly anyone watches TV. What's TV? I have started watching TV again. Since I changed my Digibox from Mayo to Vodafone, I much prefer it. I had something that looked like it might make a dial-up sound, the box that Mayo gave me a few years ago. And when I tried to change it for a new one, they said, well, we're not changing it if there's nothing wrong with it. This lady was quite shirty about that. And I said, well, it doesn't work very well. She said, what do you mean? And I said, well, it's not very efficient or good in how it operates. Well, it's nothing wrong with it. You have to keep it. She was quite cross that I even asked. So that was part of my reason to change to Vodafone. And I have to say, I love the remote control. It's a well-balanced thing in the hand. It feels like it's made of metal partly, and it's really nice to use. And watching Portuguese TV, I think, is good in a way for the language. Having a little cough there, pardon me. I'm going to play the potty mouth grandmas in just a moment while I drink the rest of my tea and have a bit of a cough, so I don't have to cough on you. But yeah, hardly anyone watches TV, says Pete. It's also incredibly expensive to produce compared to podcasts and YouTube. Yeah, absolutely. Can you imagine? I mean, the budgets that they have. Oh, Nick might join us. He's in Mumbai at the moment. Nick, who was, and I thought he might still be traveling Portugal in his van with his guitar, the traveling minstrel. Well, I said, are you up for a chat in the morning? A bit of an update from you. Where have you been in Portugal? Oh, just arrived in Mumbai. I'd be up for a chat. Yes, that would be fun. But tomorrow morning is probably not ideal. He may or may not. Do you know what? I'm gonna drop the link in my chat with him on WhatsApp. 913-590-303. And if he wants to join me, he will, live from Mumbai. Good morning to you, Nick, if you're watching. And good morning to the OLP as well. Love to you, Gumpers. Right back at you there. Is it all right with this fan heater still on here, everybody? Sarah, is one parent a foreigner? I believe that allows a name outside the list. Ah, there you go. The cross-fertilization, those foreign ideas coming in, like John and Jane, rather than João. Oh, Jane. What would Jane be in Portuguese? Until about 2000, my Aussie town had a cinema with deck chairs. Dick chairs. Cheap pricing. And yes, do you want a dick chair? It's cheap. Sorry, that's more of a Kiwi thing than an Aussie thing, isn't it? Cheap pricing. And yes, trays of food are bought around at the intermission. It was great. Come on, expats, do this in Portugal. Import it. And we may be glad to see the back of the multiplex. It's such a joyless experience in so many ways, isn't it? The magic of the movie obviously can transport you to somewhere fantastic, but the infrastructure itself, being that one person, and that the movie is being shown back to back with no love or joy, just somebody on a minimum wage changing over whatever they do, the VHS tapes at the back of the room. Who is old enough to remember the Potter's Wheel or the Escherek Infinite Stairs? Oh, Escheresque. Escher. Do you know one of the first exhibitions I saw in Portugal was MC Escher in Lisbon? No, Kate. None of us are that old, apart from you, possibly. Sorry. We still. I do remember the Potter's Wheel, but only seeing other people talk about it. I don't remember it in the first person. Or the Infinite Stairs. That was a thing, was it, in the cinema, in the intermission? I don't remember that. We still enjoy movies in theatres, says Bob, but rarely see a title we care to watch. That's the other thing, isn't it? Now, if you start an indie cinema, you can you can get the films, presumably, lay your hands on the films that you would want to watch rather than the nonsense that's coming out. I did see a trailer yesterday for Odyssey. For some reason, it's a kind of sign of the times, is it not? Christopher Nolan's new movie is the Odyssey, coming out in the summer. So that's one to watch out for. I would definitely go to see that. Not that I can see it in Caldesteragne anymore. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Sorry, I'm here listening. Got distracted, did not say good morning. Don't you worry. Nafashmal. Wow, America is becoming a war zone, shooting our own citizens. That's the sort of news we don't want to hear. But it is, it would appear to be the case there, OLP. Let's focus on, you're not going to be, it's not like I'm going to be depriving anyone by not sharing that news. That's everywhere, isn't it, at the moment? Let's probably not have it on the Good Morning Portugal show, but I take your point and send you lots of love, OLP. What a shame. Believe the whole crew are thoroughly Portuguese. Elvis and partner Anna, parents of Liam, are definitely Portuguese. So there you go. You can do it if you want to. We might even talk about it. I've only got 20 minutes to go here. Chatting too much about nothing and not enough about something this morning. I wonder how they got that onto the list then. Interesting. It must be relaxing. Oh, they must be relaxing the law, perhaps. We have commercial ads asking for ICE agents with, come on, OLP. Let's gradually coax you away from that this morning. You will be drawn back to it if you watch the news, of course, in the US at the moment. Luxury camping, try the camp mode in my Tesla. Matty, that might mean something else, might it not? The camp mode. It might mean when you get out, you mince from your way from the car to the to wherever you're going in camp mode. I don't know. There used to be a sleeper train. It was quite a civilized way of getting here. Anyone know anything about that? We are researching alternative ways of traveling across Europe, avoiding planes and massive queues. After your long flight, do you want to be waiting 3, 4, or 5 hours in passport control at Lisbon? Probably not. It's like, I can't imagine many people have said ever in passport control in Lisbon, it's great to be here in Portugal. Do you know what? I'm just going to stay here for 5 hours and savor the atmosphere. I'm going to kiss the ground and then spend another 5 hours here, just soaking up the Lisbon vibes. There's probably other places they might like to do that, like a rooftop bar or down by the river or in Rossio Square or atop the Jesus statue, the Cristo Rei. In many trips in the EU, bus is faster because you don't have to get there hours before. Nor customs, etc. after. Yes, good point. Also, luggage and personal safety higher on buses than planes and trains. Very good. Really? So it's better on coaches than it is on trains. Yes, I guess if you have to change. Anyway, I mostly use Portsmouth to Caen. Yes, I've got happy memories of Caen. However, and unhappy ones, actually, I have to add to that. However, this time I came with my dog via the Channel Tunnel. My dog now has an EU passport, which will save the high cost of the UK animal health certificate. Oh, okay, that's a good hack as well. Thank you for that. If you pet owners in UK want to know that, I'm sure Gary can tell you more. Nor do you get bumped from a flight on a bus or a train, and services less often cancelled. Yay for rail and bus. Not in the cinemas. They were on television when I was... okay. Yes, the Potters will. I remember the test transmission, the little girl by the blackboard, of course. I don't want to bring it up, negative news, but don't ostrich it, Carl. Got to go. All right, no, I didn't mean to shut you down there, OLP, and fair enough. It's horrible. No question about that. Lots of love to you over there. No, Carl, Tesla's camp mode means that the AC stays on all night, USB ports stay on, and you can keep charging your phone. I knew it would be something like that. I didn't really think it would make you camp as a driver. And internal alarm sensors are turned off. Yes, who doesn't like an internal alarm first thing in the morning? Nobody. That's why we turn it off on our Teslas. And the sleeper train was run between France to Santa Apollonia in Lisbon. That sounds great. Can anyone find out if that's still available? On train, the luggage stays in a separate area and can be stolen at a stop. Buses have luggage separated into each stop with others locked up. Very good, Mel. Thank you for that intel on that. Very quickly then, we're running out of time. I can't believe it. We get chatting and look what happens. The most popular name then, this is Europe we're looking at here. Artain, Jakub, Leo. These are names across Europe. Noah, the most popular in my native UK. Jack in Ireland. And in Martin in Spain, and right here at home, Francisco is the most popular boy's name. And if we look at the girls' names in a much higher resolution, well done, girls. Maria, of course, most popular name. Olivia it would be in UK, Emily in Ireland, Lucia. There you go. Ana Lucia, most popular girl's name in Spain. Very interesting. Olivia looks quite popular in other parts of Europe too. In Finland, it would appear. Sofia in Russia. There you go. There are the names, the most popular names. So we've got Maria and Francisco here in Portugal. And if we go to the Portugal Club now, which I should do, otherwise I shall forget, we are looking here at Portuguese names. There is a little section about it. There you go. Most popular names in Portugal. That was old news. I think we can update that for 2025. We've got the most common occupational related names. Ferreira, of course, which is Ferreira is presumably a blacksmith here, iron worker, Ferreira. Am I correct in my assumption there? Peter, I always look to you on such matters of general knowledge. And names, equivalents of John, but not Jane here. And yeah, a little bit of information. Portugal is one of the few countries in the Western world where parents are not free to name their children as they please. Clearly, that is changing now. But I'll put the link to this in case you want to know more. As a rule, Portuguese parents will choose traditional names, but if in doubt, it's the parents that are keeping it going, right? I don't think we can blame the government necessarily. But if in doubt, before naming a child, they need to consult the 80-page long list of approved and rejected names. Rejections then might be, for example, naming a child with a diminutive is also not allowed. For instance, Joanna is okay, but Joaninha is not. Another rule, she's going to get called that in real life, not on her birth certificate. Another rule is that names must be gender explicit. Gender neutral names are not allowed. That's interesting, isn't it? And there are 2,600 names on the reject list. Amazing. Right. We will stay at the Portugal Club for the Portuguese citizenship test question of the day. However, not until we've heard from the potty-mouthed grannies. If you are easily offended that the S word is going to be used 3 or 4 times now by, well, I used the words old ladies in inverted commas. Let's hear from them now, shall we? Here's a new product you might be interested in if you're trying to balance the amount of fast food you're eating. Here's help from the generic Southern European grandma.
No eat that shit. Eat a sandwich. No eat that shit. Eat a sandwich. No eat that shit. Eat a sandwich. No eat that shit. Eat a sandwich.
How on earth are they going to market sandwiches all over Europe, Southern Europe, presumably? That's hilarious, is it not? I have to say as well, as much as many of us might like a sandwich, we might acknowledge as well that it's probably not the most healthy choice, although, you know, bread is better in Europe, I think it's fair to say. And looking at the fillings, it's all about the fillings, really, isn't it? Plenty of butter on there, I'm guessing, as well. Good bread, plenty of fresh fillings. Yeah, Sushi Mango, them and the Portuguese kids are great value, are they not? These guys are so funny. I watched them a lot. So there you go. And Ferreira is a smith. Yes, thank you very much, Kate, for that. The joys of living in civilization or a big city. Oh, Chris must be here then. Some scroot. Oh no, broke into your car last night. I'm so sorry to hear that. Yeah, we've got friends who had their car broken into. I think it was in Madrid. They made a right mess of it. Yeah, that's the big city experience, I think, as Matty's saying. They're sorry to hear that, Chris. Another thing to attend to in an already busy life, of course, as well. Hard to be personally attacked on a train when you call out to a driver, unlike the train. Hard to be personally attacked on a train when you call out to a driver, unlike the train. So I don't quite know what that is. What you're saying there, Mel, I'm sure you will explain. It is not still available, unfortunately. Okay, so France to Santa Apollonia. Will it come back? Are other people having a same sort of reaction to plane travel? And will other forms of transport be revived, like the cinema revival I have been talking about this morning? Portuguese citizenship test question then. Let's go to question 91 this morning. Oh, well done, everyone. There's been a few people piling in this morning. And let's have a look at the results. To the question, which Portuguese colony was returned to China in 1999? Was it Macau? Was it Goa? Or was it Timor-Leste, East Timor? I think the clue is China. Is it not there? And isn't it funny? Even in 1999, you know, we are talking about countries and people of countries being passed around, aren't we? Like they are the chattels and objects, possessions of other countries. Interestingly, Macau wasn't given back to the Macanese. Are they called the Macanese? That would be such a good description. The Macauans, possibly. Although that sounds like a Scottish clan, the Macauans, doesn't it? What are people from Macau called, Peter? God, I'm keeping him busy this morning. I don't think he's still here, actually, but we shall see. What are people from Macau called? Most people plumping for that choice. Which Portuguese colony was returned to China in 1999? Was it Macau? Was it Goa? Or was it Timor-Leste? Suggesting that all those other places were once Portuguese-owned. Isn't that incredible? And returned to other countries, not to the people themselves of those territories. That's the sort of thing we're talking about at the moment, more generally, isn't it? All of these funny lines and flags and passports and things. It's all being looked at afresh, is it not? We're being prompted to do that. Right. That's the Portuguese citizenship test question of this morning. We're coming up on 9 o'clock. I'm going to be chatting to Dr. John Briffa. We're going to be making a recording. Looking forward to releasing our first conversation, our pilot episode soon. And it's all about actionable advice on work-life balance, or work life and everything between, as the good doctor likes to say, and us chatting in a down-to-earth way, basically, about health and well-being. What we're doing personally, a very, very POV, very authentic, very us chatting, and you'll get some of Dr. John Briffa's great medical insight as well. A somewhat different doctor. I don't think that is his official strapline, but he's definitely a somewhat different doctor. Thank you very much, Bob, bringing in a different subject here. I'll come back to that in just a moment. Hard to be attacked on a bus because you can call out to the driver. Okay, now I understand. Unlike a train, yeah. I don't think the train driver is going to want to be bothered, is he? Although hopefully there would be conductors and other members of the public who might be happy to help in a difficult situation. You hope so, don't you? I imagine I might personally get involved in a difficulty on a train, but I mean, the scale of difficulties on trains, as we see recently in the UK, for example, are pretty grim, aren't they? But yeah, I would like to think I would get involved, and I suspect a lot of Gumpers here would as well. Totally different subject. If anyone would be interested in adopting a Portuguese water dog, there has been one wandering our area since. Sounds like you've got a new project, Bob. He seems like a gem. We haven't caught him yet. My goodness. And I think there are probably a lot of dogs up for adoption at the moment, right? But if you are looking specifically, the dogs made famous by the Obamas, right? Portuguese water dogs. There's one wandering about in Ponte Lima. The night train to France was a casualty of the pandemic. There's some talk of a new one, but at least I haven't heard anything definite. Yes, but come on, it's 5 years since those times. Many of the vestiges and consciousness of those times are still with us, but maybe we could have the train back. Pete is here. Unfortunately, the majority of people from Macau are Han Chinese. Why is that unfortunate, Pete? But I am going there this year. World Eco Garden of Butterflies and the Dwarf Empire. Right. One can only imagine what that might be. Is it a bit like the Pequeños in Coimbra, or is it very different to that, the model village? The Dwarf Empire. My mind is running away with me about what you might get to eat and who you might be served by in the restaurant. Near Kunming is on my agenda. Pete, I'm going to share something with you. That is my Chinese name. You know, I've got some Chinese ancestry and relatives. My grandfather gave me the name of Kunming. I kid you not. It was kind of difficult. I was very grateful to him and very respectful, obviously, as you would be in Chinese culture. But to be a slightly awkward teenager and to be given the name Kunming as your Chinese name, I'm slouching and slumping in my chair here. Was a little bit difficult. I'm sure you will appreciate. Right, where did we get to on our massive list this morning? Yes, we've looked at children's names. We've welcomed Athena. Philomena, what should we talk to Philomena about tomorrow? Have you got any requests on language and culture on a Philomena Friday tomorrow? Wine of the week, then, before we look at wool. Wool and wine. What a combo. Actually, a knitting, stitching and bitching whilst drinking Portuguese wine. That sounds like a good night in, doesn't it? Or a good night out hanging out with others, possibly. The wine of the week, then, which I picked up in the last couple of days. I need to take your comments off the screen for just a moment to look at the Evidencia. It's a Dow Red, a Vinho Tinto of 2022. It's our Portuguese wine of the week with a lovely label, with a handprint there, a colourful handprint. Not even opened it yet, but that's what we've chosen. Getting mine from Sergio of Red Notes here in San Martino de Porto. See if you can track it down yourself and swap tasting notes with me. Evidencia. A big handprint. That's a great label, isn't it? Evidencia, our wine of the week from the Dow DOC. Okay, very good. And what else was on our list this morning? That's wine of the week taken care of. To wool. We've looked at alternatives to airport queues and alternative forms of transport. Hopefully those sleeper trains and trains where you can look out the window during the day also will be coming back. Woolen sunglasses. And a bit of feedback about Roxy. We'll get to that as well. But a little bit about wool here in Portugal. Now, I think the reason I started to talk about this was because there was some mention of it in George Branco's Substack, which I think came out yesterday. So having a look at that, he talks about the airport chaos. Oh, sorry, that shouldn't be on the screen, but that is how somebody felt about the queues there. In George Branco's Substack, Portugal Weekly, this week, attempt to fix the chaos at Lisbon Airport. Early presidential campaign dominated by Venezuela, as you might imagine, and Marcelo delivering his final New Year's message. I'm sure I saw something about wool and the woolen industry here in Portugal. Yes, the Portuguese wool industry hanging by a thread. Should we see if we can help and intervene before there are any more closures in the Portuguese wool industry? Sales are not enough to pay for shearing, and the last wool scour is looking likely to close, bringing the whole national production chain to a halt. That's a serious thing. If any of us are serious about preserving natural and local and special, unique things about Portugal, this would be a good case for that way of being and thinking. So wool in Portugal, where do I begin with this? Yes, I'm going to begin with an ode to wool, which I found this morning as I was researching this. Here we go on the screen, a very nice looking blog. An ode to wool and the fragile state of Portugal's wool industry today. Is there an expat angel who wants to step in and help save the wool industry here in Portugal? Over the past few years, this from May 2025 from the AOW Insider. I don't know what that is, but it looks like there are some beautiful woolen products right here made in Portugal. Over the past few years, I've been working on a long-term photography project. More on that another time. Says this blogger, focused on wool in France and Portugal. It's a subject that both fascinates and frustrates me. After many conversations with brands, manufacturers, farmers, and experts, it's become clear that we are rapidly losing sight of the value of this important natural fiber. This time of year, we've been talking about long johns. We've been talking about keeping warm. Wouldn't wool be a good way to do that? As demand for cheaper fossil fuel-based alternatives continues to surge. Yeah, those 690 leggings from Decathlon, I suspect, aren't made of wool. The market for wool is steadily drying up. Only strong political decisions at an international level regarding the true cost of fossil-based fibers will make a decisive impact on the global usage of wool. So that's quite a good way of kickstarting the conversation. There's a lovely list. I'm sure it will help to buy beautiful woolen things from some of these people here. So I will transfer. I wonder how well. Actually, no. What I'll do is I'll put something in the Portugal Club. My little bit of research this morning, quite hastily done, but quite an important topic, I think. Portugal makes so many things, doesn't it? There are so many wonderful natural products and indigenous products, raw materials in this country. We don't get to hear enough about them, perhaps. Wool was once used in countless products that many people have forgotten about, from mattress filling to firefighting uniforms, thanks to its natural flame resistance. Is that the lanolin in there? That's the waterproofing part for sure, isn't it? It's also been used for building insulation, lanolin-based skincare balms, rust prevention, and waterproofing leather. In regenerative farming, raw or waste wool has been buried directly in fields as a slow-release nitrogen fertilizer. Wool fibers were used to polish silver and mirrors, and of course have long been prized in winter clothing, naturally odor-resistant with both warming and cooling properties. Ideal for long johns then, if they're naturally odor-resistant. And you can have one of the flaps at the back, can't you? Wool is also biodegradable. The list goes on. Just like me this morning. Wow, so there you go. That's an ode to wool. I'll put these links up at the Portugal Club. So that's part of the wool journey. And then I've got another one, made in Portugal, Portuguese textile industry. This also very lovely. If I bring that onto the screen and show you as we make our way towards 9 o'clock this morning. Better crack on, actually. There you go, made in Portugal, Portuguese textile industry. Did you know that Portugal is one of the few countries in the European Union that didn't abandon its textile industry? Others apparently have. And today it continues to uphold an exceptional standard in the fabrics it produces. Well, let's hope so, after hearing that news that the woolen industry or the wool industry is hanging on by a thread. I mean, that's a pretty good pun, but terrible news, really. And then the name stood out to me here. The key to the success of Portuguese textiles lies not in mass production. There you go. Coming back to plane travel and cinemas. May we be moving away from mass production back to more artisanal methods, community methods? I wonder. Maybe we'll be forced to. But in the ability to produce with excellence, standing out through quality, innovation, premium materials, sustainability, and technology. There you go, Portugal. These are the elements that have attracted brands from all over the world to invest in domestic production. A clear example is the Portuguese brand Brules, which recently decided to invest in the clothing and accessory market entirely produced in Portugal. The lovely mug I've got here, this is a German company using Portuguese ceramics. There is something going on, and I think it's quite right that we support the companies who are endeavoring to do this. So on that note, looking at Brules then, I love these sunglasses. Not that I wear them. I've never been a big fan of sunglasses. But if you do want sunglasses, check these out. Brules, I'm guessing, are not a Portuguese brand, but they are making their products in Portugal. Look at these beauties here. Portuguese sunglasses. They're not Chinese shop, sunglasses for €5. They're a bit more expensive than that, but of course they would be. They're not mass produced by children in a Chinese factory. They're made by Portuguese craftspeople here in Portugal. Look at that. I love these. Even though I don't even wear sunglasses myself. What a lovely website as well. Óculos do Sol. Presumably you can get these frames then and get your own prescription put in them. Aren't they lovely? Iconic eyewear. These are lovely. Very good. So well done, Bruges, for selecting. Look at these. The daisies are very 70s, aren't they? Handmade in Portugal. How about that? And with an Italian design. That sounds like a good combo, doesn't it? Italian design and Portuguese production. Loving these. You can buy them online and you can use PayPal as it says there. So Brules, definitely going to put that in the chat for you if you want to research those. Shout out to Brules and the Portuguese sunglasses makers who are just about hanging on in there like the Portuguese woolen industry at the moment. There you go. That's going into the chat right now. Now, I wonder if I can we have a list of Portuguese-based products on the Portugal Club? Yes, Kate, I've already done that, actually. Maybe a little bit ahead of my time before, but I definitely was producing a list of indigenous products. So there you go. There's Brules. That's a great idea, Kate. So I'll pick that up and run with it again. Yes, good idea. Request for Philomena. More on clitics. I say, what are clitics? I'll have to find out before I ask her about that. I also hate the fact your baggage is free for anyone to steal. That's why I hate trains and coaches here. The train takes twice the time of the coach, and we had a 3-hour delay the last week. Got a coach together and 1 hour delay on the coach on Tuesday. That is a shame, isn't it? They need a German influence. on the running of the railways and the coaches, it would appear. Wool can be used. Morning, Paul. Good to see you here. Well, I think we're due a chat, aren't we? Wool, and thank you for your kind words on Eric's interview. What a character, right? I'm guessing you know him. Wool can be used in industry and should be promoted more. Thermal insulation, walls, roofs, acoustic panels, homes, offices, hotels, moisture regulating insulation, ideal for humid climates, fire resistant treated wool bats. Why this matters: wool is naturally fire retardant, absorbs toxins, formaldehyde, and nitrogen oxide, and regulates humidity, strong fit with green building regulations, and large volume demand compared to fashion. I hear that shepherds, farmers are throwing the wool away at the moment, Paul. This is a terrible state of affairs as well, isn't it? My bum is too used to heated seats or full recline. Sorry, that made me cough. I wouldn't use a coach anywhere but Portugal, just because people are so honest. I always worry when I have a 10K laptop at the bottom of it. Well, you've told everybody now, Peter. My goodness, the fan heater's on. I think it's drying me out here. And I've got another podcast to record with John Briffer, Dr. John Briffer, in just a moment. Suffice to say, have a great day. It's been quite the trip, isn't it, this morning? All sorts of things we've been talking about. We'll save that feedback from Venezuelan in Portugal, Roxy. Really kind words, though, from one correspondent. And for the time being, I'll just put the website address for Jeremy. We will be doing Qigong together on Tuesday of next week in his Qigong, healing Qigong class. If you want to join us, please do. It's online. It's going to be easy to do. It'll be fun to connect after the show. I think it's 9:30 next Tuesday morning. Morning to you, Hugh. Just a quick hello to you, Hugh, as well. Have a great day. Honestly, I don't think this is the right outro, but let's see what happens. Forgive me if it's the wonderful... Oh, no, this is the right one. This is the one I should have played earlier on this morning as we arrived. I played yesterday's for a second time. So good. We played it twice. And yeah, and the wonderful feedback about that we'll come back to tomorrow. So here is the outro for today, as I wish you a very happy day. And we'll see you again tomorrow. Take care and bye for now.
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to